Before I go into the nitty-gritties of the matter, permit me to set the record straight relative to a false claim that Dr. Okoe Boye made relative to the origin, or, if you like, the history of the National Health Insurance Policy. And he is not the first person to have peddled that falsehood. In fact, that falsehood has been the chorus of our friends in the NPP for many years. And here I'm referring to the claim that the National Health Insurance Scheme was introduced by the NPP Kufuor administration. That is palpable falsehood. You've been getting away with that lie for many years, and it is about time you stop peddling that falsehood. As CEO of the National Health Insurance Scheme, you have at your disposal all the facts about the genesis of that scheme. And so if your communicators and serial callers, and even members of parliament and other higher ups in your political party will go about peddling falsehood, that should not be coming from you as the chief executive officer. What are the facts? The fact is that the National Health Insurance Scheme policy was mooted and piloted by the NDC Rawlings administration. There is ample evidence of this fact in many media publications and even in Parliament's record. I'm talking about the Hansard of Parliament. Long before President Kufuor came into office in 2001, the visionary government of the NDC, under the leadership of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, had thought about a national health insurance scheme for this country and had actually started pumping money into the piloting of the scheme in Nkranza, in the then Bunahafo region, in the eastern region, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, when we sought to introduce that National Health Insurance Scheme policy, the NPP were against it. Can you believe that? They were against it. They said that it was not feasible and prudent for Ghana to have a single National Health Insurance Scheme policy. And so what they advocated for was a mutual health insurance scheme policy. They wanted SNIT to have their own health insurance scheme. They wanted worker groups to have their own insurance scheme. And that is what they put out as their alternative. And the one who actually led the charge for the NPP at the time was President Kufuor's brother, Dr. Ado Kufuor, who is a medical doctor and who was a ranking member for health for the New Patriotic Party. In fact, they are spokesperson on health. You understand? So you even opposed a single national health insurance scheme. We started it, we financed it, we piloted it. It was when you came into office that you decided to launch a mutual health insurance scheme. Okay? So what Kufuor introduced in 2009, 2010 was, in the immediate, I think 2004, 2005, when he took office, was a mutual health insurance scheme. It took an NDC government again in 2012. I'm talking about the Mills Mahama government, to introduce the National Health Insurance Scheme. And that is why the act that governs your work, which is the National Health Insurance Scheme Act 2012, Act 852, is there. That is why the act is dated 2012. Now, somebody may say that, oh, what is Sammy talking about? There is no evidence to support the claim he's making. So, you can Google this story. Just Google it if you're watching me. It's dated 27th January 1999. Who was in office in 1999? Was he helping? Who was in office in 1999?
Rawlings was.
Rawlings and the NDC were in office. So the title of the story is Ado Kufuor Calls for National Vision. Now, he made this statement in Parliament after President Rawlings had delivered his sessional address, what we call the State of the Nation address. And listen to what he had to say. Mr. Speaker, there is a need for hard work and careful planning and not self-congratulation. Dr. Adofo told the House that the National Health Insurance Scheme received only an oblique reference in the sessional address, saying that an important pilot scheme saying that, I was here, listen, an important pilot scheme in the Eastern region was not mentioned. So this is the NPP's spokesperson on health in Parliament in 1999, 27 January, criticizing President Rawlings that, oh, you only made reference to a national health insurance scheme policy, and that you even failed to mention an important pilot scheme of the project in the Eastern region. He continued and said this. He said, given the realities on the ground, implementation of the three types of the health insurance, that is SNIT's contributor scheme, family rural-based scheme, and the non-profits making urban self-employee scheme as a short-term policy will face difficulties. He said he wondered how with the daily minimum wage of 2,000 cedis, any meaningful premium can be paid by an average worker or a rural dweller to join the scheme. Mr. Speaker, I support the health insurance scheme, but doubt its viability as a short-term policy. It should be made a medium to long-term policy. I mean, instructively, he was not described as a political Jeremiah at the time, as President Akufo-Addo chooses to do these days. But listen to what he said. Mr. Speaker, I support the health insurance scheme, but doubt its viability as a short-term policy. He was speaking for the NPP at the time. It should be made a medium to long-term policy, while the Ministry of Health improves its facilities to provide satisfactory services to the people. Dr. Adokofor said. This was in 1999, January. Now, I will read another story to you again. This is a Ghana Web publication dated 26th April 2000. Who was in office on 26th April 2000? Which government? Which government? Help me.
You go on.
No, you help me.
Go on.
Help me. 26th April 2000. Who was in government? Who was in government? It was the NDC and Jerry John Rawlings, right? We handed over on 7 January 2001, right? Good. So after we started piloting, and they were the naysayers at the time said it was not viable, it's not possible, and all that. By 2000, the year 2000, April, we had gone far with the preparatory works. And so they came again attacking us for attempting to introduce a national health insurance policy. And the Ghana Web published this story. If you are watching me, you can Google it. And when I'm through, I will send screenshots to your production team. They can project it on the screen. Government must accept useful minority suggestions. Adokofor. He was a spokesperson for the then NPP minority in Parliament on Health. Wednesday, 26 April 2000. Dr. Kwame Adokofor, MP for Menchia, on Tuesday, called on the government to accept useful suggestions from the opposition. He noted that the billions of cedis and energy wasted on the single national health insurance scheme could have been saved if the government had not brushed aside the minority suggestion in 1997 that such a scheme was not viable. So you can, from this story alone, see when the NDC Rawlings government started working on the national health insurance scheme, 1997. And they said it was not viable. And in 2000, in the year 2000, 26 April, this is Adokofor on behalf of the NPP, accusing the then Rawlings NDC government for wasting billions of cedis on a single national health insurance policy. Dr. Adokofor, who is also the minority spokesperson on health, was reacting to the admission by Dr. Moses Adibo, Deputy Minister of Health, that the scheme has been found to be not feasible. He said the position of the minority, which has now been vindicated, is that in view of the high dependency ratio, high levels of unemployment, and large percentage of people living below the poverty line, it is more appropriate to encourage private insurance schemes. The MP said communities, religious bodies, employers associations, and worker groups should be encouraged to set up their own insurance schemes, as being done at Nkranza and elsewhere in the country.
So we have your story for
exactly.
on
it is on the screen. The government's role, he pointed out, should be limited to monitoring, regulating, and supervising those schemes. when they are in place. This is the NPP. They say instead of a single national health insurance policy, we should have churches, religious bodies, worker groups introducing their own independent insurance schemes and so on. Everything is in the story.
Okay.
You understand? So when President Kufuor took office, what they did was what they promised in opposition. A mutual health insurance scheme policy. What does that mean? It means that if you had a health insurance card and you were registered, say, at Lejukuku, and you got sick, you could not go to Ladadikutupon for medical treatment. The scheme or the health insurance at the time was not portable. If you were registered in Sunyani and you came to Accra and you were sick, you could not go to any hospital with your card. That is why in 2012, the visionary NDC Mahama Mills administration decided to nationalize the scheme into a single national health insurance scheme. And we passed the National Health Insurance Scheme Act 2012 Act 852. This is all you need to know about the genesis and history of health insurance. So NPP people, you've been lying for decades about this policy. Stop the lies.
So quickly, there are three kinds of falsehood. One will just misstate or misquote the fact without any ill intention. The other one deliberately amends the fact to create another impression. The third one actually murders the fact to create the opposite intention. Is the third one that Sammy did when it came to national health insurance. I feel sad for those who work so hard to bet the insurance, hearing what he said. But guess what? I don't want to use opinion to address or to handle what Sammy had, the falsehood he has peddled. I want to cite an article that was published in the Ghana Medical Journal, June 2012, volume 46, number 2. The effect of Ghana's National Health Insurance Scheme on healthcare utilization. The authors are N.J. Blanchett, G. Fink, and I. Osaya Koto, Department of Global Health and Population, Harvard School of Public Health, Boston, Massachusetts. Summary. Objectives: to study, investigate the effect of Ghana's National Health Insurance Scheme on healthcare utilization. Introduction. Healthcare financing in Ghana began with a tax-funded system that provided free public healthcare services to all after independence. As this system gradually became financially unsustainable, with economic stagnation in the 1970s, initially low user fees were established for hospital services to discourage unnecessary use, locally recover some costs, and generate provider performance incentives. Continued declines in government spending on health through the 70s and 80s led to shortages of medicines and supplies and deteriorating quality of care following adoption of structural adjustment reforms in 1983. Following adoption of structural adjustment reforms in 1983, the Rawlings administration raised and expanded user fees for public health care services in a system that became known as cash and carry. The user fee system improved operating revenues for some facilities, but it was poorly regulated, inconsistently implemented, and found to have worsened access to care for the poor. Starting from the 1990s, Ghana began to seek other ways of financing healthcare, including NGO-initiated community-based health insurance schemes. The emphasis is mine. Including NGO-initiated community-based health insurance schemes, CBHIS, the article states. While popular among members and international donors at the time, the schemes were poorly targeted to specific areas, failed to address key social insurance issues, and were not supported by general government revenue to allow them to cater for the poor. Most importantly, with CBHIS covering only about 1% of the population, with limited benefit packages, the system of user fees remained the predominant means of paying for health care. The highly unpopular cash and carry system became a salient political issue, and the main opposition party, the New Patriotic Party, began to call for its abolishment in its manifesto and campaigns, a promise that may have helped the NPP to win the 2000 presidential and parliamentary elections. Ultimately, the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, was established under Act 650 of 2003 by the government of Ghana to provide a broad range of healthcare services to Ghanaians through district mutual and private health insurance schemes. Mr. Host, good morning to President Kufuor this morning. You see, my brother was quiet throughout. These are articles that are incontestable globally, stating in summary how we have funded health from independence to now. What they did is normal in policy cycle. When a policy is implemented, along the line, through practice, you would have known the rough edges and sharpened it. It started as mutual. Mutual meaning every district was in charge of its fund. There were serious positives with it. In fact, when I did some monitoring in the regions, some were even calling again for the mutual because their chiefs, opinion leaders, philanthropists had a say on how the fund was run. They visited hospitals to make sure they do the right thing. But along the line, one of the main reasons why the NDC administration moved it from mutual to a national scheme was that every mutual scheme had its own board. The duplications in governance was too much. And the allocation of resources, they were abused.
I remember the main challenge, one of the main challenges, you could not move into a different district. Good. And if you got a problem medically, you got attended to.
Good. You see, but I'll give you what was in contention here was not some of the things that you worked on the policy, was who brought the policy first in place. I've quoted the article from
in 2003. You had an act.
Yes.
So look, let me
please let me land. Look,
land and let me go to
this behavior of the NDC.
We should let you land.
Okay, this behavior of the NDC of deliberately trying to twist facts to create an impression which is wrong, and not only wrong, make them to be like the owners of something they fought, is inspired by their knowledge. That, forgive me, there are some people who sometimes don't go deep into the issues. I'm being honest with you. But if Sammy assumed that all Ghanaians were like you and I, he will not have the courage to do what he did this morning.
Anyway, okay. Let me come to you now, Sammy.
Dr. Okoe Boye has just scored.
So you will do exactly 6.
He has just scored an own goal.
How?
I have read to you records of what the NPP spokesperson in Parliament in 1999 and in the year 2000 said about health insurance. And in both publications, he concedes that the NDC Rawlings administration was working on a national health insurance policy. And that a single national health insurance policy was not viable. That was his word. Was not viable.
Is that what I read?
Please, can I make my point? I'm saying that is what I read to you. 2 publications. One in 1999 and one published by Ghana Web in April of 2000. That you have
stated earlier.
Which is on the internet.
Yes,
you understand?
We showed it. So that
clearly showing that it was the NDC Rawlings administration that introduced this policy. And that we started piloting it. In fact, Adokofo even makes reference. Yes. Whether the piloting was being done by NGOs or churches, we started piloting it. And Dr. Adokofo, can you allow me to make my point? I didn't help you once. And Dr. Adokofo even attacked the NDC government for wasting billions of taxpayers' money on that. For wasting billions. You didn't see me read that. Then here comes Dr. Okoe Boye. He wants to disprove what I've said. And he's quoting an article in the Ghana Medical Journal. Masa, an article. The academic work of individuals, which can be rejected or accepted, which can be criticized. And so what? So if an article is published, into what? But look, God being so good, the reason why I said that he has scored an own goal is that the article he read has confirmed what I said.
What did he confirm?
I said that what Kufuor introduced was not national health insurance scheme. He introduced mutual health insurance scheme.
Across the country.
Masa, can I finish?
I have established that there was an act Yes. Said national health
you
insurance.
Did not even before you even made that comment. I have told you.
Was it across Ghana?
Please allow.
Please allow. It is either you want us to proceed with decorum, or you want to turn this program into a chaotic program.
I'm saying that
you know the rules.
I'm saying that I had put across. He had even said it that there is an act, but he describes it as.
No, I'm saying that I said in my submission that we started piloting this national health insurance scheme policy.
But it's not true.
And I've read the facts to you. If you say it's not true, then you have, this is self-inflicted ignorance. You are failing to learn. You are just being incorrigible. Because I read to you what a ranking member for health Adoko said in 1999 and 2000. So you are refusing to learn. I am telling you the article. The article you read, the last sentence, what did they tell you? The last sentence says that what Kofor established in 2003 was district mutual and private health insurance. Is that the same as national health insurance?
Was it not national health insurance?
And English, is that national health insurance?
But the mutual.
Let me read to you what the Act itself said. The Act says 57. Section 2.
That is in 2003.
3. So that you know that what they established was not national health insurance. National health insurance was established by an act in 2012. Don't expose your ignorance and refuse to be corrected. Okoe Boye, this is it. Section 2. The object, in fact, this Act 2003 established what is called National Health Insurance Council, not authority, council. You can find that under Section 1. So when you come to Section 2.1, it reads, the object of the council is to secure the implementation of a national health insurance policy that ensures access to basic health care services to all residents. For purposes of achieving its object, the council has the following responsibilities: register, license, and regulate health insurance schemes. So they were a regulator. They were a council in charge of licensing and regulating health insurance schemes, supervise the operations of health insurance schemes, grant accreditation to healthcare providers and monitor their performance. Then you come, determine in consultation with licensed district mutual insurance schemes, contributions that should be made by their members. To settle this, go to Section 11. To settle this, finally, types of Section 11 provides for types of health insurance schemes. Under Act 657, Act 650, which President Kofor introduced. Okay? The following types of health insurance schemes may be established and operated in the country. Listen to what the Kofor Act 2003 introduced. May be established and operated in the country. A. District mutual health insurance schemes. District mutual health insurance scheme is not the same as national health insurance scheme.
Is that not a matter of interpretation?
B. What is interpretation? Is district the same as national?
So I am saying that.
Why must we even debate this? Let me go on B.
That's my problem.
B. Let me go to the B. Let me go to the B.
Okay, go ahead.
Private commercial health insurance scheme. Private commercial health insurance scheme. Is that national health insurance scheme? C. Private mutual health insurance scheme. Is that national health insurance scheme? Now go and read Act 852. What the government of the NDC under the leadership of Professor Mills and John Mahama introduced in October 2012.
Let me ask you one question.
Yes, ask me.
In between 2003 and 2009, did you ever find cause to go to the hospital?
Yes, of course.
Did you enjoy a health insurance?
If you were registered, I mean, under health insurance, you could only access healthcare
as in your district.
Place in a district you registered.
Yes.
If you got sick, and I think I've explained this already to you.
That was funded by the nation, by the state.
Exactly. So,
and what would you call that?
Say that the Rawlings NDC government piloted national health insurance scheme. Kofor came in and introduced.
You have done economics. You have done. I'm saying that
let me finish.
You have done economics.
Can I finish?
Okay.
The Kofor administration came in and introduced district and mutual health insurance schemes, including private health insurance schemes. I have said so. I have given them their credit. The Bible says, give what belongs to Caesar and what belongs to God. And I said, the NDC Mills Mahama government introduced a national health insurance scheme. That is a fact. And let me settle that. Act 852.
Let me go.
What for force? Oh, why can you go on? You gave him 6 minutes.
You've gone beyond 6.
Of that act. There is established by this act a body corporate with perpetual association to be known as the National Health Insurance Authority. Then come to 2. Just pardon me.
You requested that I stay strict to the minutes I'm giving you.
He's heckled me a lot, so please. The object of the authority is to attain, listen, universal health insurance coverage in relation to persons resident in the country and persons not resident in the country but who are on visit to this country,
anyway,
and to provide access to health care. So you see what this did? It established an authority which had the object to attain universal health insurance coverage in relation to persons resident in the country and persons not resident in the country but who are on visit to this country, and to provide access to healthcare services to the persons covered by the scheme. So this national health insurance scheme we are enjoying today was introduced in 2012.
But I'm saying
what
to
was
you.
introduced in 2012 has been even been repealed.
But I'm saying to you.
It was private entities.
I'm saying to you that I know you beyond here. Beyond this. I know you have done economics.
Yes.
Development economics. You know that policy is policy starts somewhere. Policy is a continuum.
So is this
policy goes on, and policy is restructured at every point.
Exactly. So
that's the point we should stay with.
You say that the policy started at Nakofo as a mutual and district health insurance
policy.
Sorry
if we go
that
back
is what we were taught in class. And then you say that it became national and universal. But let me, in 30 seconds, let me tell you this.
You requested
and Okoe Boye.
I'm starting
you didn't heckle Okoe Boye once. You've been asking me questions persistently. He's been heckling. I want to put on record here, I won't have time to explain. But students of politics and students of history can go and explain. Healthcare in Ghana, can go and learn, Healthcare in Ghana, for the records, was always free since the days of Kwame Nkrumah until Akufo-Addo's father became a ceremonial president and Buzia became a prime minister. That was the first time the Hospital Fees Act was introduced. And Ghanaians were charged money before health treatment. This is something I just want to throw into the system. Because many a times they make noise about cash and carry. It was Akufo-Addo's father, as ceremonial president, who cancelled free healthcare in Ghana and introduced the Hospital Fees Act. So please, you have been exposed. What you introduced was district and mutual and private health insurance schemes.
The Bank of Ghana,
not national health insurance
Governor of the Bank of Ghana
has
responded to, even though he hasn't received the petition.
I want to state a few things. It's my time, 15, before I go on. In 2012, when the act was passed, 852, the National Health Insurance Act, my brother, those who were working with the mutual schemes, they didn't go home. What that act did was to convert the council Sammy spoke about into an authority. Let's do some education here. What makes a program national, Mr. Host? If you have a mutual scheme in Lechukuku, you have a mutual scheme in Sola, you have a mutual scheme in Tema, you have a mutual scheme in Kitampo, across the country, is it a regional program or a national program?
Then you don't even understand.
In 2012, please, you said I should. In 2012, for the education of the public, when the act was passed, the act didn't employ people across Ghana to start running a national scheme. Please, what the act did was to dissolve the boards that were sitting in every district and let all evolve into one board at headquarters.
But the headquarters who
please allow him. Kindly
allow him. When he was heckling me, every sentence heckling, did you say please allow him?
I asked. No, hold. Sammy, hold on. But I gave you the extra time. And then I asked him,
like I was tolerant. I will heckle you. You heckled me, I will heckle you.
But Sammy, I asked him to stop heckling you. You remember that? But you remember that?
Then I gave that 4 minutes. I'll stop after 4 minutes. He heckled me. You can't have it both ways. You can't
allow me to run the show, Sammy.
How can you sit here?
Sammy, you are my brother. I said allow me to run the show.
It's the same as national.
I will have to still give him the time. No, you have the
So if anybody creates the impression that in 2012, all of a sudden, across Ghana, a national scheme was set up that started to run insurance, it is a very inaccurate one. So the same staff, by the way, they are watching the show, some of them. The staff who are working with health insurance for the past 20 years, they were the same staff of the mutual schemes.
so it makes it national.
They all started reporting to an apex body.
Lost the argument. It's not about whether the workers were retained or not.
You have the
national health insurance scheme.
You have the floor.
Stop dancing around the issue. You lost it.
So the national
what you said was false. You didn't
so
introduce national health insurance scheme.
There are many who don't know that I wear two hats. I am the CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, which is a regulatory body, which is equivalent to the council Sammy referred to. And I'm also the CEO of the National Health Insurance Scheme, which is a service delivery arm.
Thanks to John Mama and the NDC.
And you see, this is the sad aspect. Across Ghana, all those who were working with the mutual schemes, all of them came together as a family called the National Health Insurance Scheme. So all he's saying is that once you change the name of a program, it becomes yours. That is the sad reality of the position that we have today. But I thank God that a lot of the listeners and viewers are discerning.